Cambodia holds elections Sunday with few doubts over the outcome. Prime Minister Hun Sen's Cambodian People's Party is certain to cruise to victory after nearly 4 decades in power. Well, that's been assured by pushing the opposition out of the political process. But there's one change on the horizon, with the 70-year-old leader saying he's ready to hand the reins over to his son.
A campaign in full swing with no opposition in sight. The Cambodian People's Party, or CPP, is virtually assured of victory in this weekend's elections. Prime Minister Hun Sen has led the country for almost 4 decades, making him one of the world's longest-serving leaders. He came to power following a civil war in the 1980s. Hun Sen later refused to accept the result of an election that saw him lose. He eventually took power in a bloody coup. Since then, he's won every election. His campaign says he represents stability. The political mandate for the CPP is to protect and maintain peace, political stability, and development. All development up until now has happened through 6 elections over 30 years under the leadership of the CPP. The main opposition Candlelight Party has been banned from participating in the election. Its spokesperson says that makes the ballot a farce. As you can see in this boring election campaign, ordinary people can see through it, which is so much different from the last election that had strong opposition participation. It's boring, like soup in a cooking pot, with no ingredients. To avoid election boycotts, Parliament passed a law requiring citizens to vote or lose their right to vote in any future elections. That guarantees high participation, but there's little doubt of the outcome.
I'm joined now from Phnom Penh by DW's Asia-Pacific Bureau Chief, Georg Mattes. So, Georg, there's little doubt of the outcome. That doesn't really sound like it's a free and fair election, does it?
It looks certain that 100% of the 125 seats that are up for grabs in Parliament will go to the Cambodian People's Party. And there's a number of reasons or potential explanations for that. One we have seen in the report, that is a lack of real contest, seeing that the main opposition party has been prohibited in the country. Then secondly, there's the whole issue that the state media virtually controls the information landscape in this country. There's a lot of self-censorship amongst the media, so people are careful what they publish, what they say. But also there have been a number of online providers have been prohibited, so there's been a lot of restrictions and even intimidation, some say, on that front. And then thirdly, there's the concern about electoral fraud. We've seen that according to a number of NGOs in the 2018 election. And when it comes to this election, a number of leading election monitoring institutions have said they will abstain. And over 70% of the NGOs monitoring the election in this country are aligned to the Cambodian People's Party here.
Well, despite those concerns, Cambodians may still see a kind of changing of the guard, with Hun Sen indicating his eldest son could become prime minister. Well, tell us more about that.
All eyes on the 45-year-old Hun Manet, a 4-star general. He has studied in the UK, has a PhD, studied in the States, an economic expert. So on the CV, he looks like he's all prepared for the job. But of course, he will now have to win. It's a first time for him. He will now have to win a legislative seat to be eligible for a prime minister. And then a handover of power could actually happen within a month after these elections that will take place tomorrow. And that is when the difficult task for him will begin, because the country is facing a slowing economy. There is a young voter, huge 2/3 of the voters are young voters, and they have high expectations for change in this country. And these are things he will then have to tackle.
That was DW's Georg Mattes in Phnom Penh. Thank you for your reporting. I'm joined now from Paris by Sam Rainsy, a leading Cambodian politician who lives in exile in France. So, Sam, in your opinion, will Sunday's elections be free and fair?
Not at all. It will be a farce, a sham election.
And why exactly do you say that?
Because the opposition, the only credible opposition that I represent, is not allowed to take part in this sham election.
Now, do you see any chance for genuine opposition party activity, if not in this election, then in the near future moving forward?
Hun Sen, the current prime minister, who has been in power for 38 years, continue to oppress the Cambodian people and to prevent any democratic change. But the Cambodian people are fed up with this current regime, and they will do everything peacefully to bring about a democratic change. For tomorrow's election, there is another way to look at the result of that election. The democratic opposition calls its supporter to nullify, to spoil the ballots, to voluntarily spoil their ballots as a sign of a protest. So there is another way to look at the result of the election, is to count the number of spoiled ballots. If the number of spoiled ballots is very large, it means that the Cambodian people reject the current regime and that they want to vote for the opposition, even though the opposition is not allowed to take part in this election. But there is a way for the Cambodian people to show their support for the opposition. It's just to spoil their ballots.
All right. Now, you have been living in exile in France for some while now. Would you feel safe returning to Cambodia?
Sorry?
I said you've been living abroad for quite a while now. Would you feel safe returning to Cambodia given the current political climate?
Actually, I want to go back to Cambodia as soon as possible. But the regime of Mr. Hun Sen and Mr. Hun Sen himself prevents me from going back to Cambodia. He has warned all airline companies not to carry me to Cambodia. He has asked governments of neighboring countries to prevent me from landing in those countries in order for me to go back by land to Cambodia. So I have no means to go back to Cambodia. And Mr. Hun Sen has said that he will kill me and all my supporters if I try to enter Cambodia. So Mr. Hun Sen shows that he is very afraid of the opposition. He knows that if there were free and fair elections, he would lose, and that the Cambodian people will nominate another government more representative than the current dictatorship.
Now, Hun Sen is hinting that he may hand power over to his eldest son shortly after the election. What exactly is your reaction to that?
Cambodia is not North Korea. Hun Sen cannot found a political dynasty. We have had enough of the father. We would not accept that the son replace his father. I think this is the general attitude of the Cambodian people. We want leaders to be democratically elected.
That was Cambodian opposition politician Sam Reins speaking to us from Paris. Thank you very much.
Thank you.